Honourable Senators, I rise today to voice my support for Bill S-286, an act respecting National Immigration Month. I would like to recognize Senator Gerba for her advocacy on this bill and for her continued dedication to creating an inclusive environment for our country's newcomers. As Canadians, we are lucky to have such a wonderfully diverse population, and a National Immigration Month would provide us an opportunity to both recognize and celebrate those who came to Canada from abroad, as well as stand up to the ever-increasing rhetoric against immigrations. Here in Canada, immigration is, and always has been, a vital part of our country's history and has shaped what it means to be Canadian from coast to coast to coast. From the Chinese immigrants in the West who worked on the Canadian Pacific Railway in risky environments, to the Irish immigrants who helped build the Rideau Canal right outside this chamber under hazardous conditions, and to Pier 21, the Halifax seaport where nearly 1 million immigrants landed in Canada from 1928 to 1971. I name a few across our country, but examples are endless. Today, immigrants make up a considerable portion of our population. Immigrants accounted for 23% of the population in 2021, which was the largest proportion in over 150 years. In Atlantic Canada alone, the share of recent newcomers settling in our provinces has almost tripled in 15 years, increasing threefold between 2006 and 2021. In my home province of New Brunswick, it rose from nearly 7,500 in 2015 to over 37,600 in 2023. This is an indication of Canada's inclusive and welcoming spirit. I like to say, don't just be friendly, but be a friend. However, we still have work to do to reinforce our capacity to welcome and retain newcomers in our communities. I share Senator Gerba's belief that National Immigration Month is of particular importance given our current climate. Recently, we've seen an increase of distrust towards immigrants, a surge of blame for our country's problems attributed to immigrant population. This represents a very concerning trend and one that merits our attention. I believe it is our collective responsibility to create a welcoming and supportive environment for newcomers to build their futures and to change the concerning narrative being aimed at immigrants. It's also critical to our workforce and labour market to facilitate the integration of newcomers to our country. I'll use the example of my home province of New Brunswick. A 2023 New Brunswick Jobs Report on Labour Market Outlook projected that between 2022 and 2032, the province is expected to see an 11.4% population growth. Labour force and employment are forecasted to grow by 9.1 and 9.6 respectively. That means over 98,000 individuals who are expected to retire will need to be replaced, and an additional 35,000 new jobs that are expected to result from growth will also need to be filled. A significant portion of these openings are expected to be filled by young New Brunswickers, but this population alone will not be large enough to meet the future demands for labour, as New Brunswick is expected to experience negative natural population growth. Overall, young people entering the labour force for the first time are expected to fill only 54% of forecasted job openings, as projected by the New Brunswick Job Report. In order to bridge the gap between population growth and labour growth that is forecasted, the remaining 46% needs to be filled through a mix of immigration, workers from other provinces, and increased rates of labour force participation. In order to ensure the vitality of the workforce of my province and more broadly across the country, we must continue to solidify our commitment to inclusive practices. It's important for businesses, for organizations, for governments, and for communities to provide programming and opportunities for newcomers. I've long been an advocate for newcomers and understanding the challenges that they face, doing my best to help them overcome barriers. While I was at the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, we showed leadership by creating and running 3 different programs aimed at supporting newcomers. We ran the Business Immigrant Mentorship Program, the Hive, which was an incubator center for newcomer entrepreneurs, and Succession Connect, which helped in building connections between those in our community looking to transfer their business and newcomers who were looking to put down roots in the community and buy a business. These programs were copied in other communities across the country. I also volunteered with the Ignite Connector program and with Opportunities New Brunswick Connects by helping mentor international students, recent grads, and internationally educated newcomers, and trying to connect them to people within my network. To someone new to a province or region, they may be unfamiliar with the landscape and how things work. Their network is limited, and they may have challenges in terms of employment and other community access. By providing connections and guidance, it helps them to gain opportunities and experience they can turn into stepping stones for their future. We have so many success stories in New Brunswick and in Fredericton of businesses who are led by newcomer entrepreneurs, for businesses in the service sector, across the gamut to those in tech and innovation. But they need support to get there, and all of us here today can do that. Overall, it might be easy to see immigrants as numbers or percentages instead of newcomers to our communities, but it's our collective responsibility to ensure we continue to approach immigration in a welcoming way, creating a supportive environment for them to build their futures, being friends, not just friendly. In my hometown of Fredericton, we have long celebrated an Immigration Month with events, celebrations, and storytelling. And I would love to see this implemented nationally so that we can all celebrate from coast to coast to coast. In closing, by supporting this bill, we not only recognize the valued contribution of immigrants to Canada's history, but we also reinforce our commitment to core values such as inclusion, diversity, and economic prosperity. And we send a powerful message to Canadians and to the international community that we continue to represent and defend these values. I'm proud to support S-286 and sending it to committee for further study, and I encourage my fellow colleagues to do the same. Merci. Thank you. Bully Wan.